This is Contractor Sense with Ruth King.
Welcome to Contractor Sense. Here you discover ideas, tactics, news, and information that matters to your contracting business and you. I'm your host, Ruth King. This episode is sponsored by HVAC Trust Books. Go to hvactrustbooks.com to discover how this tool can help you close more sales. Thank you for joining us. Here is how we will help your business and you today. The most important thing to track is net profit per hour. In this episode, you will discover why percentages don't matter and only dollars matter. In this first segment, find out what net profit per hour really is and how to calculate it. In the second segment, you'll hear from Tim Scheller, owner of Elite Heating and Air in Wentzville, Missouri, who learned about net profit per hour, implemented it, and grew his business profitably. So let's get started. Way back in the day, in the late 90s, late 80s, early 90s, I taught the divide by one minus the gross margin method of pricing. And I admit it, I did it too. And I was just blindsided by the fact of how wrong one minus the gross margin pricing can be. And this is what happened. In probably 2004, 2005, somewhere in the early 2000s, I had a lot of contractors I were working with, all who had pretty much the same gross margins. Some who were doing really well and some who were not doing well. And to me, that absolutely didn't make sense. There were some contractors who used the gross profit per man day method, and that was being taught a little bit, but it hadn't really caught on. And so I'm driving one day and it hits me between the eyes. Duh. If we divide by one minus the gross margin, we are forgetting all about overhead. And overhead is critical to finding out how much you actually earned on a particular job or whether your service technicians are actually being profitable. And it's the overhead factor that people were leaving out. And so I said, okay, we're not doing this anymore. And I developed the net profit per hour method of pricing, where we look at the number of billable hours that you have divided by your total net profit, and that's your net profit per hour. And I promise you, in 2004, 2005, with my client base, every single one of them gave me a hard time about it because everybody was so used to doing divide by one minus the gross margin or doing a dual overhead method or something along the lines where we have percentages. Well, percentages don't matter, as it turns out. The only thing that you can take to the bank is profit. All right, dollars, profit. Cash, dollars, not a percentage. You can't take that percentage to the bank. And so when we started doing this, it caused a lot of things to happen, all of which were good. The first one is everybody became hyper-focused on productivity. If we say a job's going to take 16 hours, it better take 16 hours. And if it didn't, we found out why. If we were doing some commercial work and we knew it was going to be a large labor job rather than a large material job, then many of the contractors looked at that and said, well, can we really make a profit on this job? And if we can't, we're not even going to bid it. So some of the bidding actually went away, and the jobs that they got, they were much more profitable at. Everybody got focused on productivity. Everybody started tracking how many billable hours they had versus the number of hours they actually paid their employees. And productivity rose, which means profitability rose. All right? So now when I start with a new client, you're going to hear from Tim, who, quite frankly, is a client of mine and has been for about a year. And Tim will tell you his story about what he did when I asked him, well, what net profit per hour would you like? And I'll let Tim tell you that story after the break. So here's what we do now. And here's how we calculate jobs and pricing. We start by knowing what our overhead cost per hour is. And the easiest way to do overhead cost per hour is simply take last year's overhead and divide it by your number of billable hours. And billable hours are those hours that you can bill a client. They are not holiday hours, they're not vacation hours, they're not meeting hours, they're not training hours, they're not hours you're paying the guys because you want to keep them because you don't want them to quit when you have a whole lot of work. It's no unapplied time, all right? It's only hours that are on customer sites that you can actually bill for. And many contractors ask me the question, well, what about service? Because we actually are billable X number of hours. Well, my answer to that is this. If when you are calculating your flat rate pricing, and all of you should be on flat rate, which is another discussion for another day, Then you include a half hour for travel time and service call time, and make sure that you include that. And so that's actually billable at that time. So you have very similar hours that are billable in service and replacement. So all of your travel time is calculated in your service calls and your service charges, and all of your time that you're on a job is also calculated. And we'll get into that in future segments of these podcasts. But anyway, what I'd like you to do is just think about right now, or go back after this podcast is over when you're at your desk, is look at last year's year end and look at your overhead cost per hour. Now, you can do this by department. So you can have a service department overhead cost per hour, an install overhead cost per hour, a maintenance overhead cost per hour, a commercial overhead cost per hour, an electrical overhead cost per hour, a plumbing overhead cost per hour. You get my drift. And then what you'll do is you'll decide how much net profit per hour you want to earn for every job that you do or every billable hour that you have. And that is totally up to you. I never, ever tell a contractor what he should earn net profit per hour. You have to decide. The way I'd probably do it is take 20 jobs that you did last year and calculate, knowing what your overhead cost per hour, then calculate what your net profit per hour on those jobs were. Don't be surprised if you had some jobs where you actually paid the customer to do their work, i.e. you had a negative net profit per hour after you considered overhead. That will give you a baseline for where you are right now. If you don't like the number, you can change it. You can say, okay, I don't like being at $7.23 an hour or $5.52 an hour or $23.47 an hour. That's not enough for all my time, effort, and energy, stress, heartache, whatever, and keeping a roof over everybody's in this place's head. I deserve more. And that's totally up to you. If you're comfortable with $20 net profit per hour, then go for it. Be at $20 net profit per hour. If you want to earn more than that, if you want to earn $1,000 net profit per hour, make sure you can actually get $1,000 net profit per hour. So what you're going to end up doing is you're going to figure out what your net profit per hour you want, add your overhead costs per hour, and that gives you your gross profit per hour, and then add your direct costs, and you've got your actual service call price per hour. Or if you're doing a replacement job, net profit per hour, overhead cost per hour, add the two, multiply by the number of hours that you estimate, and that's your gross profit, add your direct cost, and that is what your selling prices need to be. Try it. I think you'll be maybe shocked, hopefully pleasantly pleased to find out what your net profit per hour actually is. When we get back from the break, you're going to hear the story, Tim Scheller's story, and how he implemented net profit per hour in his company. Thanks for listening to Contractor Sense. We'll be right back. I've seen my clients' salespeople struggle when a customer asks why they should use your company rather than the competition when your price is higher and you both are proposing the same equipment. I've seen technicians struggle when customers ask them whether they should replace an 18-year-old air conditioner. And most salespeople and technicians never ask the one question that most customers are concerned about, yet never ask. Can I trust you? I found a tool that gives your salespeople and technicians the ammunition to answer this question and more. And the tool works. How do I know? 68% of my clients are using it to increase sales and referrals. What is it? A trust book with your name on it as the author. More details are at hvactrustbooks.com. Warning, there is only one contractor per area that can get these great books. Some areas are already taken. They've gone to my clients. If you want your area and want to have a tool for your salespeople and technicians to increase referrals and sales, then go to hvactrustbooks.com now and reserve your area. I've seen my clients' salespeople struggle when a customer asks why they should use your company rather than the competition when your price is higher and you both are proposing the same equipment. I've seen technicians struggle when customers ask them whether they should replace an 18-year-old air conditioner. And most salespeople and technicians never ask the one question that most customers are concerned about, yet never ask. Can I trust you? I found a tool that gives your salespeople and technicians the ammunition to answer this question and more. And the tool works. How do I know? 68% of my clients are using it to increase sales and referrals. What is it? A trust book with your name on it as the author. More details are at hvactrustbooks.com. Warning, there is only one contractor per area that can get these great books. Some areas are already taken. They've gone to my clients. If you want your area and want to have a tool for your salespeople and technicians to increase referrals and sales, then go to hvactrustbooks.com now and reserve your area. What's it like implementing net profit per hour pricing and tracking? My guest today, Tim Scheller, owns Elite Heating and Air in Wentzville, Missouri. In terms of full disclosure, I started working with Tim about a year ago. One of the first things we did was implement net profit per hour strategies. Tim, welcome to Contractor Sense.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. So when you and I started working together about a year or so ago, I asked you what you wanted for net profit per hour, and you gave me the deer in the headlights look, right?
Yes, I honestly, I didn't know. And, I battle with being profitable and not, being ethical also.
Right.
That was my biggest challenge.
Yeah. Well, you can be profitable and ethical. And as you did with one very big job, you gave a nice donation to one of your favorite charities, right?
Correct.
So that probably felt pretty good.
Yeah. In the end of the day, what I've kind of learned in the last year or two is, if your customer's happy, you're taking care of them, you're providing a service for them, that is, our ultimate goal. And that's, how I look at it as far as where we're pricing things and where we should end up. Everybody's been down that road before where, I want the budget company and this and that, but if you don't know what your overhead is and all that, those companies kind of go by the wayside, and it's definitely not what I want, you to be.
Right. And when we first started out, you looked at me and said, is $20 net profit per hour okay? And what did I say to you? Do you remember?
You told me that is, some along the lines, that's fine. That is totally up to you. You didn't pressure me into anything. And that's great. Now that 20, I still use that 20 net profit per hour as my minimum. Have we dropped below that? Yeah. Some jobs don't go as good as others, and some go better. That's kind of like our baseline at this point.
Right. And you've seen some jobs, quite frankly, several $100s net profit per hour too, right?
Correct. Before I started implementing this, before, I had Bruce help with that, that was my biggest thing. Are we making money? Was that job profitable? I didn't know. It was a dart, and we were able to keep the lights on, pay the bills, but it seemed like every, day to day, we were just robbing Peter to pay Paul. And with starting to implement this, at least we know, we were profitable on that job, or no, we weren't, or and then another hardest thing for me was not do all the jobs. If that job's not profitable, then why do it? I mean, you could drop even below 20 if you want to keep your guys busy. If you got some good crews, I could see that happening. But it just it gave me that sense of, oh, okay, we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's okay if a job comes in that's not as profitable as others. As you said, you made some decisions now as to whether you're even going to do some jobs. I think you've turned a few of them away, right?
Yeah. Mainly people, have been using us, and, they're like, well, this guy's doing it for this amount of money, or this, this job's, their bid is this. And I just tell them, at this point, I have the numbers that back it up to say, well, that's fine. We can't do it for that. And typically in the end, that customer comes back to us, or I'm just being honest with them. And they understand. I mean, most time you're residentially, some residents don't understand it, but in the commercial side, these guys are in business too. They understand, overhead and everything else.
And that makes it easier because you know exactly where you are.
Correct.
So,
yes.
Cool. All right. So in the future, I think from my perspective, just watching you grow, you've grown significantly in a year and you've grown profitably in a year. Has this helped?
Oh, yes. In the past, we would never have money in savings. We would, and implementing stuff and seeing it's definitely helped. Just by, having our own credit line at this point. Probably in the past we were doing jobs, making, being profitable on a job and then doing another one and not being profitable on that job. And then all of a sudden now we just broke even. And at this point, in the last year, we have savings accounts. We have our own credit line in essence now.
Which is good. And which is where you should be. At least, getting and staying profitable, which is my mantra, right?
Yes, it is. And, I owe it to my guys that are out there working hard. It's a team effort. I owe it to them to make sure that the company is profitable and that, they know that they're going to receive their paycheck each week. I owe it to my guys. They're the ones out in the field. And I've always said my number one asset's my employees.
And it is, because without them, you don't have a business.
Correct.
And then make sure that the jobs are profitable so that you have the work for them, right?
Right.
All right, cool. Well, Tim.
And the guys know sorry.
No, go ahead. The guys know what?
The guys know. The guys know that we're tracking the profitability, and they understand. They understand without Elite being profitable that, it's a short-term career or a job. I would say.
Yeah. If you're not profitable, you're broke.
Right. And a lot of headaches for the owner.
Absolutely. Very good. So Tim, thanks so much for sharing. I appreciate it. And I look forward to watching you use net profit per hour even more in the years to come and getting and staying even more profitable and even more giving back, which is the cool part, which you can do when you're profitable.
Yeah, that is fun. And, helping your community out is another big thing, and that's part of it. And Ruth, thanks for giving me a call. And yeah, if you need anything else, let me know.
All right. Thanks, Tim. Have a great day.
Hey, you too. Bye.
Bye.